பண்ணிட்டே அப்படியே பண்ணேன். हाँ तो वेट करो थोड़ा, फिर बाकी जो तुमको पता है वो करो. நான் நிஜமா எனக்கு இது கோவம் வருது. நீ என்னோட அப்ப மத்த சம்ஸ் எல்லாம் பண்றது இறங்கி பெட்ல இருந்து கரெக்டா வீடியோ போது நான் இந்த வாட்டி படம் அடி அடி நடிச்சிடுவேன். ஓகே ஆமா ஆமா இந்த இதுவும் போது அங்க நிக்கிறது இங்க நிக்கிறதெல்லாம் பண்ணியானா நான் ताता சொல்லி விட்டுருங்க. नहीं ताता आने दो, मैं बात करती हूँ.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So we will proceed with sampling. So sampling, as I told you, is some of the elements of the population. What was population? Where all the elements included or whatever we are talking about are there is called population. When some of those elements are taken out for a study, we call it as sampling. This is going to represent the population. So sampling is a process in statistical analysis in which a predetermined number of observations are taken from a larger population. The methodology used to sample from this larger population depends on the type of analysis being performed. As I told you, we take a predetermined number of observations from a larger population. And the concept of population also I told you, where all members or a specified criteria. When I specify a criteria, population of India, it talks about every single citizen of India or every single resident of India is included in the study if it is population. Example, population of India is defined as people residing in the country. Population of Punjab means all people living within city limits or boundary, right? So a single member of any given population is referred to as an element. Every single element is referred to as an element. When some elements are selected from population, we refer to that as a sample. When all elements are included, we call it as census. So just to elaborate on the on whatever I read out now is, see, when I say I want to study the food habits of Indians. So if I say Indians, it talks about everybody who's holding an Indian citizenship. I want to study their food habits. So if I am going to study every single individual, then that individual is called as an element. So I'm going to say, if I study about every single individual, it is going to talk about population study or a census survey. And then if I'm going to study only a few elements, few selected elements, or I say 10 people from say Punjab, 10 people from Tamil Nadu, 10 people from Orissa, etc., it is going to be a sample. That is what we mean by sample and census. Census means studying every single element of the population. And when I say sample, I derive a few predetermined number as sample. There are two types of sampling, random sampling and non-random sampling. Random sampling is called probability sampling because when I say at random, I'm going to pick up 10. Every element, if there are 100 elements, every element has an equal probability of getting sampled, which means every single element has an equal chance of getting sampled or studied. But when I'm going to, just a second. So when I study every single, when I say random sampling, each and every item of the population has got equal chances of getting selected and studied. Supposing I say 10 people from your class at random will be chosen and will be selected for some event. Then you all have, if you are 60, all of you have 1/6 chance of getting selected. All of you have that, right? So I'm going to say random sampling is also called as probability sampling. When I say non-random sampling, you have a predetermined criteria of selecting the elements to be studied. And therefore, it is called as a non-random sampling. Now, when I say random versus non-random sampling, I will just take this full screen off. So when I say non-probability sampling, there is no way of estimating the probability of an element being included in a sample. If the researcher's interest is in generalizing the findings derived from the sample to general population, then probability sampling is far more useful and precise. Unfortunately, it is also much more difficult and expensive than non-probability sampling. Now, what has happened here is when I say non-probability sampling, it is going to be a predetermined criteria that I'm going to use. But then when I use a predetermined criteria, like for example, I say, I want to select 10 students from this class to be taken for a visit. Then if I say random, it is probability sampling. But when I say non-random, I say that, so I'm going to make you into groups, and from that group, I'm going to make you into 6 groups. From every 6 group, 10 people or 10 people are going to be selected, so that I get 60 students to be taken. Supposing there are 600 students, you will be made into 6 groups, 100 students each, and 6 students from each group will be taken. So this makes it a non-probability sampling, wherein you are divided into groups, and from that group I'm going to select 10. So what happens again, it is becoming much more time consuming, and sometimes it may even prove to be expensive. If it is going to involve some amount of survey, if I say all of you write down in a piece of paper as to from 100 students, how many of you are really interested? And from among the 100 students who say you are interested in going for the visit, I am going to select 10 students. If 90 of you write, then also only 10 students are going to get selected. Are you following? Or I say every 10th roll number is going to get selected for the visit. And so I define a criteria. So I have to scrutinize first 10, 20, roll number 10, roll number 20, roll number 30, etc. and then select you for a trip. This is called as non-probability, wherein I have a predefined criteria to select the element. But probability sampling is also called as random sampling or representative sampling. The word random says the procedure used to select the elements. Like from a population, I will say participants or cars to be tested. I told you at random, I'm going to select 10 students to be taken for a visit. When random sampling is used, the element of the population, each element of the population has equal chance of being selected. As I told you, everybody has shared the same amount of probability to be selected. It could be stratified random sampling, wherein I divide all the entire class or entire number of students into different stratas, different groups, and then I select. The sample is referred to as representative because it has the characteristic that it draws from the population, like or parent sample, which means I will explain you in detail. What happens is, when I'm going to draw 10 students from each class of commerce group, so from our college, and take you for a visit, what happens here is I'm going to say 10 students from each year, and each commerce group. BCom may say 10 students, first, second, third year. BBI may say 10 students, first, second, third year. BVOC may say 10 students. But now what has happened is all of you have that characteristics of Population. Population means all of you belong to commerce group, all of you study similar subjects, and therefore you all are going to be sharing the common characteristics of the population. I hope I'm clear. So one type of random sampling is stratified random sampling. This procedure is known as stratified random sampling because you are dividing the entire population into different stratas. Like for example, I want to study I want to study how comfortable you all are to pay the fees, because many students express that, and we have some issues with the fee part of it. And so I'm going to study how comfortable you are. So when I say all the people living there, right? So I'm going to classify you based on your income, based on your class, based on the college you are enrolled in, etc. Right? So when I'm going to stratify this population, when I'm going to divide you into different strata, I'm going to say first, second, third year. All of you belong to BBI. You all share the characteristics of BBI. You all are going to pay the same fee amount. You all are going to be enrolled in the same class, same year, in first, second, and third year, and therefore you will be paying the same amount of fees. Therefore, I'm going to divide you all, and then from that, I'm going to draw some 6-7 students from each group to study. Hope you understand this. Are you able to follow? This is called as stratified random sampling, wherein I divide the population into different strata, and from each strata, I'm going to draw a set of 10 samples or 20 samples at random. So it is called as stratified random sampling. Now talking about convenience sampling. Now there's one thing before we proceed I would like to discuss about. See, quite often when we collect data, if you go through, I will actually send you some one or two research papers wherein you will be able to see what has been actually done. They will say something called as methodology. Methodology में लिखते हैं क्या sampling technique use किया है, कितना data collect किया है, and what is the criteria for selecting this data, right? All these things will be written, and there you will also see about what kind of sampling technique is used. When I said stratified random sampling, it was divided into strata where predetermined criteria was given, and it was also at the same time, it was also said that I'm going to derive so many samples by this way. Now when I say another thing like convenience sampling based on my convenience. Why do I use convenience sampling? Is it is easier for me to collect. Researcher का convenience के हिसाब से we decide on convenience sampling. So what is this convenience sampling? Supposing I want to study the shopping habits of people residing in harbor line in Mumbai. So what do? I choose a particular area. I will go to a mall, and I will say I go to K-Star Mall because I reside in Chennai. So I'll go to the place that is nearby. I will go survey there and see how they are shopping, etc. All these things are recorded. So now why did I choose K-Star Mall? Because it is close to my place of residence. It is because of my convenience that I chose this particular mall. So that is called as convenience sampling. Or if I say, I want to find out the socio-economic status of people residing in Ghatkopar area. So I will go to Ghatkopar and I will see the area that is very nearby to me and very convenient to me for collecting the data where people are responding, where I know the people and I'm familiar with the area. So I will select that area. It is near to my place of residence. It is called as convenience sampling. But often convenience sampling as a researcher, I would not advise because it may not be representative for the study. Because मेरे convenience के हिसाब से जब मैं करती हूँ, I may not get accurate results. Hope you understand that, right? मेरे नजदीक है इसीलिए मैं लेती हूँ. मैं ये लोगों को पहचानती हूँ इसीलिए I have selected method of sampling, but it may not be very representative. Now, convenience sampling may I have a well-defined population. I know whom I'm going to study, whom I'm going to observe, or whom I'm going to collect the data from. I construct a list of members of the population. If one is not available, I'll find out my friends, my relatives, everybody, and then I'll list a sample randomly from the list. And I will see these people are prospective, and I'm going to select from these people so that I'm going to be surveying them. Are you understanding that? Are you following that?
Yes, ma'am.
So, and I will contact as many individuals from the list. Convenience sampling requires far less effort. As I told you, effort is less, but it may not be giving me accurate results. However, convenience sampling comes from potential problems, which will describe convenience sample as non-probability samples, right? They are non-probability because when I say probability, everybody has an equal chance of getting included or studied. But what happens is here, I know who are going to be selected. Those who are my relatives, those who are my friends are going to be studied. So there is no chance that everybody has an equal chance. If you are my friend, you have a chance of getting selected. If you're not my friend, then the chances are very bleak or you may not be studied also. Therefore, it is not possible to specify the probability of any population elements being selected for sample. As I told you, since you don't fall under my known group of people, you may not be selected. Therefore, I cannot say this is the probability of you getting selected. Like for example, I say 10 students in the class are going to be taken for a visit. 10 students are going to be my favorite student, if I say, or if I predetermine the criteria, then that 10 at random will be my favorite students. So in case I don't like you in the class, you will not get selected at all. Are you understanding? The probability is 0. It is not possible to specify the population from which it was drawn. Again, it could be 2 from FY, 3 from TY, and 6 from SY, etc. Now passing on to quota sampling. Quota sampling is another important method of sampling, non-random sampling. Quota sampling wherein large scale, I define a predetermined amount. Like I'll be taking so many from males, so many from females. So 50 males and 50 females will have to be included from 100. Then obviously that 50 is the quota specified for females. Even if I don't get males, I will have to study those males. 50 will be there as their quota. In many large-scale applications of sampling procedures, it's not actually possible or desirable to list all members of the population and randomly select elements from that list. The reasons for using any alternative procedures include cost, timelessness, convenience, and one alternative is quota sampling. This technique is often used by market researchers, those taking political polls. Usually, when this technique is used, the population of interest is large and there are no ready-made list names available in which to sample randomly. Like for example, I want to study the shopping habits of 50 people from high income group, 50 people from middle income group. So that quota is fixed. So if you're under the middle income group and if there are only 60 people, 50 are definitely going to be studied because the quota is 50. It is not at random. That is called as quota sampling. Now, quota sampling procedure is, we first decide which subgroups of the population interest us. This in turn is dictated by the nature of problem being investigated, the question being asked. What is my objective? What should I prove? What should I disprove? Right? What should I observe? For issues of national interest such as abortion, drug use, political preference, frequently used subsets are age, race, sex, socio-economic level, and religion. The intent is to select a sample whose frequency distribution of characteristics reflects that population interest. Like for example, I want to study the drug abuse pattern or the amount of drug abuse, or why are they getting into drug abuse, say middle-aged people. So I have a quota decided, 50 of middle-aged, 50 of people over between 80 and 35, 35 and 55, 55 and 60, right? So 50, 50, 50 का quota मैंने fix किया है. So 50 people I will be studying from each age group. The intent is to select the sample. I'm sorry, yeah. Obviously, it is necessary to know the percentage of individuals making up each subset. I said 50, 50, 50, right? And for example, if we are interested in the ethnic groups such as Italians, Germans, Russians, and so on, and knew their population percentage, you would select the sample so as to obtain these percentage. Like in case I know 40% of the Italians, and if there are about, say, only 100 Italians, just an example. So I'll select 40 from the total amount of Italians. And within the subset, participants are not chosen randomly. So this is simply because there are usually no ready-made lists from which researcher can select randomly. Often individuals are selected in the sample on the basis of availability. For this reason, quota sampling is less expensive. Now, to take a simple example, quota sampling is, supposing I go to a shop, right? A huge shop. Have you heard of Suvidha in Dadar? It sells lots of things. It's a one-stop shop. So this shop sells, garments. It sells you various other things that consumers would buy, and it caters to all income groups of people, right? It is all the time crowded. Now, I want to see, supposing I say I want to conduct an opinion poll. So I will go to each and every section, right? People who are actually shopping, not just window shoppers. I will not consider window shoppers. I will go to them. I will ask them, why do you like, from each section, so from the kids garment section, from the sari section, from the men's outfit section, etc. And then I will ask them, why do you actually like this shop? Do you like this shop? Why do you like this shop? What is so impressive about this shop? So I will survey them, right? This is called as, I have said 10 from each section. So there is a quota fixed, and 10 people from each section will be surveyed. And all those coming here only have the chance of getting included to be studied. Am I clear? So talking about the next aspect, I've listed down the sampling technique, advantages and disadvantages of each of these techniques. Now, simple random sampling, it's also called as a lottery method, where 1,000 children are placed on a computer database. The computer is instructed to randomly select 100 names, so 10%, right? And these children and parents are then contacted. The representative of the population. Obviously, it is taken from the population. It represents the population fully. But it is practically difficult to conduct and may even be expensive at times. Stratified sampling. The names of all 1,000 children are placed in the database, organized into different grades. As I told you, the first year, second year, third year we were talking about. Now we are talking about 6th standard, 7th standard and 8th standard. The computer is asked to randomly select 35 names from each of these grades. These children and their parents are then contacted. Again, it represents the population. But then it may again be difficult to obtain their list. It could also be difficult to, expensive. Now, convenience sampling. Now, researcher knows one of the middle school teachers, and the teacher volunteers her 35 students for the study. So through that teacher, because I know the teacher, I've chosen the teacher who knows these people, so she is contacting them. Or if I know the parents of 35 students of a class, I will be contacting them directly. This is simple, easy, convenient, but again, I don't need a complete member list, but it may not represent the population. It is because I find it convenient, I'm studying them. So I cannot say it could represent all the population. Supposing I find 15 people finding some have some issues with the school. So I will contact only those 15 people because I know them and I know they will answer me. So that is convenience sampling, right? They may not represent, there may be 100 parents, but 85% of them are left out. Only 15% are contacted because they are serving my purpose. Quota sampling. Using the middle school directory, researcher selects the first 26 grade boys because the quota is first 20, right? And then first 26 grade girls, first 27th grade boys, first 27th grade girls, and so on. These children and their parents are getting contacted. Now what happens? Quota is first 20, roll number 1 to 20 of boys, roll number 1 to 20 of girls, 40, 40 each. Simple, easy, convenient. No complete membership is needed. May not be a representative of the population. Again, I have defined first 20. They may be thorough. They may know the subject, they may not know the subject, but still I've selected them because they come under the quota of first 20 and 20 boys, 20 girls. Now just one